Welcome to the Florida Gardener Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer, and today is all about homesteading within the confines of non-traditional spaces, such as an apartment or HOA community. Now, what is homesteading? There are so many interpretations of it in today's world. I think it's important to always remember this. Homesteading is not defined by where someone lives, but by the lifestyle choices they make. For some, the goal is to be completely self-sufficient, but I think in the modern world that can be difficult. For me, living in a 2-2 townhome with a homeowners association, the goal is to make as many little changes as I can to live a life that is a bit closer to the earth. In return, this helps me rely less on supply chain and be more mindful of my consumption. And over enough time, all of these small changes build up. It's like a snowball, right? Now, obviously, this isn't true homesteading, and I get that, but you have to start somewhere. And if you wait for that perfect opportunity, well, it may never happen. So start living the life you want now. Don't wait. Alrighty, number 1, the backyard fruit orchard. There is a miniature or dwarf variety of almost every fruit tree you can think of. Keep it potted or plant it in the ground if you have the space. And here is an amazing little hack for my HOA community friends. Tear out that row of standard hedges and replace it with different varieties of edible fruit. You don't have to create a wild food forest in your yard that screams anarchy, although high five to anyone who has. But what I'm trying to say is fruit bushes and trees can blend right in with everyone else's traditional landscape. You can still trim them. They don't have to look conspicuous. They can fit right in with everyone else's hedge, except you'll reap the benefit from being able to eat from yours. When it comes to selecting fruit trees and bushes, do your research. I would start by Googling your specific area, and then I would ask local nurseries. If you can't find what you're looking for there, check out fastgrowingtrees.com. They have a huge online variety. A few great options for Florida include mulberry bush, Barbados cherry, starfruit, loquat, and papaya. Number 2, harvest rainwater. Rainwater is much better for plants than tap water because it doesn't have all of the chemicals and salts. It also has lots of the good stuff plants need, including nitrogen. You can purchase a rain barrel online. I used to have a 50-gallon rain barrel. Many boards won't allow them, but some will, especially if you have it behind your house or on an open balcony. Now, if you're not able to have a rain barrel, you can harvest rainwater with a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket. Collect the water from the gutters during a hard rain, which is every day here in Florida. Don't let the water sit in the bucket. That's a great way to attract mosquitoes. Once it stops raining, transfer the water into plastic jugs. I use old almond milk containers, but you can just use a normal milk jug as well. And then you're going to screw the cap back on. This makes them portable and easy to move around. I love leaving a few almond milk containers inside for houseplants and a few outside for my outdoor potted plants. This makes watering so easy. I also love filling an old spray bottle with rainwater to use on my orchids and tillandsias. FYI, they do make lids for 5-gallon buckets, so if possible, grab one of those. That way you won't have to immediately transfer your bucket of water to a milk jug. Now let's just say for whatever reason, none of those options are available to you. At a very minimum, no matter where you live, you can fill old milk jugs with tap water and let them air out before placing the cap on. Or fill your watering cans and just let them sit out. When you let the tap water air out for 24 hours before using it to water your plants, it allows the chlorine to evaporate from the tap water. So while this method certainly doesn't remove everything, it definitely helps. Number 3 is compost. There are many ways to compost, and you don't have to do it outside in a large bin and take a crash course on green and brown organic material. Guys, they make really cool electric compost machines now that don't require a science background. I'm not sponsored, but I've heard great things about Lomi. That's Lomi. It has a nice white sleek design and it's small enough to fit on any kitchen counter. You just put your scraps in, push the button, and a few minutes later you have a beautiful natural fertilizer for your plants. And for the more adventurous soul, another method you can try is vermicomposting, which is using worms to break down food and other organic materials, and then using their castings, aka worm poo, for the garden. I've done this before and it's really fun. They don't take up a lot of space, and if done properly, there's no smell. You can use a tiny bin. It can even be the size of a shoebox, and it can sit in your garage or inside your home. It really all depends on how many worms you order and the type of worm. Definitely do your research. Many worms sold online don't do well in our warm summers, but there are types that do. I believe the African nightcrawler is one that can handle our heat. Now, worms are a perfect segue into number 4, which is backyard wildlife. Maybe you can't have a chicken or a goat, but you can raise monarch caterpillars, plant a few beautyberry bushes for the birds, or even if you have the space, raise honeybees or put up a bat box. Yes, I said bat box. No group of mammals has been so misunderstood, and it's a shame because they are amazing. They pollinate many plants that we enjoy, and they eat mosquitoes. We're not going to do a deep dive on bats here, but if you're interested, definitely Google Merlin Tuttle. He is the king of bats. You definitely want to do your research. You don't want to buy any old bat house off Amazon, and it's important to understand where to place it. Merlin is a wealth of knowledge. His website is merlintuttle.org. That's MERLINTUTTLE.org. He was also on Joe Rogan, so you can search for that video if you are interested in understanding bats a bit more. Number 5, grow edible mushrooms. Yes, anyone can do this. There are companies that sell spray and grow kits. It's super cool. So essentially you receive a little box in the mail. One side of the box is marked. It has perforated edges. You cut it open, and inside the box, you'll see a sawdust block full of mushroom spores that are just so excited to start growing for you. You mist the box and follow the instructions, and within a couple of weeks, you'll have edible mushrooms growing outside of the box. They guarantee 1 flush, but you can certainly get 2 to 3 flushes of mushrooms if you're lucky. North Spore and Back to Roots are 2 popular companies that sell mushroom kits. No sponsorship here, but I really like North Spore because all they do is mushrooms. They don't sell anything else. And they have all the supplies and tools you'd ever need if you decide to graduate from the spray and grow kits and start to really grow your own mushrooms. Buying the substrates, grow chambers, etc. You can really geek out on all the stuff North Spore has on their website. And regardless of who you go through to buy your kit, definitely find a reputable company for this. I wouldn't go through like eBay or something like that. Edible mushrooms probably isn't something you want to roll the dice on. Just saying. Number 6, infused water. When we think of traditional homesteads, we think canning our own produce and collecting farm fresh eggs from the coop each morning. Maybe you can't do that in a townhome, but you can make your own tasty infused water concoctions. It can be as simple as crushing fresh mint and letting it steep overnight in cold water. I'm a big coffee drinker, so I actually just use a cold brew coffee maker. It's just an Amazon glass pitcher with a mesh removable filter. Instead of adding coffee grounds to the filter, I add mint. You can of course add more than just mint. Some of my favorite mixes are fresh lime with crushed mint, cucumber and mint, strawberry and basil, and blueberries with strawberries. Make sure to slice all your fruit well, including the blueberries, to really max out the flavor. I love making these in the warmer months. It's the perfect little pick-me-up in the afternoon when I start to drag. And speaking of water, number 7 is hydroponics. Yes, growing plants only using water. There are tons of options here, but essentially, for anyone unaware, many plants will grow in water alone. You just add a liquid feed into the water and bam, you've got strawberries. What's super cool about hydroponics is it keeps everything clean and significantly reduces your chance of having a pest or disease outbreak because most pests and diseases originate in the soil. So if you eliminate the soil, you eliminate many of those problems. And you can grow hydroponically outside or inside, although indoor systems seem to be very common with the home gardener. I've seen setups as small as the size of a toaster to multiple vertical towers designed to feed the entire family. Number 8 is seed saving. We all know about seed starting, but what about saving the seed? Imagine if you don't have to keep buying new seeds each season. Talk about self-sufficiency. Simply gather the seeds from your best producing plants, the ones that you're most proud of, and those seeds should produce an equally good plant the next year. You don't want to collect seeds from mediocre or poor producers because they may end up giving you poor results. You want to always choose the best. And FYI, it's very important that the initial batch of seeds that you buy from the seed supplier are open pollinated seeds, ideally heirloom. Don't purchase hybrid if you plan on seed saving. Hybrid seeds are meant to be planted once and enjoyed, but you do not want to harvest the seeds of a hybrid. I dive really deep into this on episode 2, which is called Seed Starting: What You Need to Know. So check that out if you want to learn more. Now, when it comes to seed storage, you want to remember 3 things: cool, dry, dark. After you have let your seeds dry out, you want to store them in a cool, dry, dark place. That could be inside a closet or a cabinet. Everyone's home is different, of course. But essentially, I leave my seeds in their original seed packets and just close them up with a paper clip or bobby pin. Then I put them in a large, empty protein shake container. It doesn't have to be a protein shake container. That's just what I happen to use. You could also use a mason jar. I add a couple silica gel packets inside the protein shake container. This helps to keep the seeds dry. I purchased the gel packets on Amazon. They're the same silica gel packets you've seen before. You find them sometimes in a new pair of shoes, inside a new purse or jacket. So follow this method and your seed should last a very long time. All right, guys, that wraps up episode 5 of The Florida Gardener. We'll see you next week for episode 6. And in the meantime, if you'd like to download one of my Etsy garden templates or check out my social, you can access everything through my website, rootsredefined.com. That's roots, ROOTS, redefined, REDEFINED.com. All right, thanks so much, and we'll see you again soon.